Greetings, Space Cadets. Thanks for tuning into another Planetarium live stream. My name is Patrick Hess. I'm the Planetarium Specialist at Union Station. Thanks for joining us. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And if you are a returning viewer, thanks for continuing to support our live streams. Just as a reminder, Union Station and the Planetarium are open to the public, so if you'd like to come see us in person and feel comfortable, you are more than welcome. We're, of course, following all sorts of safety protocols, and we encourage you to purchase tickets in advance. But if you are comfortable, tuning in from the comfort of your home, or you can do both, of course, then, thanks for continuing to join us for these live streams. We've been doing these live streams for the past few months on Monday nights, but, of course, it is not Monday night, so thanks for bearing with our slight schedule change from last night, and hopefully we've got some viewers. I can never really tell who's watching, so maybe nobody's watching and I'm speaking into the void, like sometimes it feels like I am. But hopefully some people are watching, and I'll know you're watching if you comment and say hi in the comment section. And if you have any questions, feel free to throw those in as well, or if you just want to shout out and want to say hi. It definitely makes me feel like I'm talking to a group of people, and it definitely makes me feel a little more comfortable. But we'll continue on as it is, and hope you guys have some good questions. But today's deep dive live stream will be all about the International Space Station. Now, I had originally planned on doing this stream in sort of celebration of the first official crewed mission from of the Dragon space capsule from SpaceX. The Dragon capsule sent humans to the space station earlier this year. That was a demo mission, so it wasn't technically an official mission, although it did go over very well. The first official crew mission, Crew 1, which is what they call it, the mission Crew 1, this was scheduled to happen at the end of this month. It's been postponed to November, and last time I checked, there haven't been any updates about when that'll be, but hopefully that'll happen in the coming weeks. But we're going to continue on with my original live stream plan for today. We're going to do something a little fun. You may have noticed I've moved back a little bit here, and I've got some sort of table device in front of me. I've mentioned it on last week's stream, but today we are going to be putting together the LEGO International Space Station set. And like any good cooking show, I've prepared some of it in advance. But this model wasn't exactly designed for what I'm going to do today. We're going to be putting it together in the order that the modules were put together in the real space station, and we'll talk about what each module does. So I've labeled them all, and hopefully I won't get lost, but sorry in advance if we have some trouble putting this together. Again, I've sort of prepared it, and then I sort of disassembled it in a way that I don't think LEGO intended. But should be fun anyway, and we should learn a lot about the International Space Station and how it was put together. I'm already seeing some people chiming in the comments, and I'm really far away from my screen, so I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here. Let's see, we've got Carmen watching from Independence, Missouri. Thanks for tuning in, Carmen. Gina's watching from Lawrence. Hi, Gina. Thanks for joining us. Stacy says hello as well. And Antoine is chiming in, as well as Lindsay. So thank you all so much for saying hello, and I appreciate you all being here. Should be a fun stream today, and we should learn a little bit about our human habitat in space. Jacqueline also says hello. Remember, if you have any comments or questions, please pop them in the comment section. Emily's saying hello as well. Hey, Emily, thanks for watching today. All right, so we got a lot of people jumping in, and I'll come back to the comments if anybody has any other comments or questions. But we're going to jump into today's topic, and that is the International Space Station. And I want to go to this one. There we go. So this is Space Engine, our 3D software, and you can actually look at a couple spacecraft, or in this case, the International Space Station. I pulled the International Space Station up here in 3D. Now, Space Engine is a piece of software you can purchase, but there are some really other really great tools if you want to learn more about the International Space Station. For example, let's see. Oh, I'm also very far away from my keyboard, so I'm sort of figuring out how to do this on the fly. Oh, there we go. That's what I want to do. So NASA has some really great resources. They have sort of a booklet you can download or print out that has tons of awesome images and information all about the space station, what kind of research they're doing on the ISS, as well as detailed photos and information about all the modules. So I'd encourage you to check that out. And after this stream, we can put, or maybe during the stream, if my helping friend is able to post these links in the comment section, that would be awesome. If not, know where he's been. So this is just a really great, essentially a free book you can download and either print or read online, all about the ISS. For our family audiences, NASA also has a really great, a lot of great resources for kids, and there's actually an International Space Station activity book that you can download, and it has some great kid-focused activities all about the ISS that will definitely enhance any learning from home that anybody is doing right now. There's also a really great web series that NASA posts on YouTube, and it's called Space to Ground, and there are hundreds of videos here, and every week they post a video from the International Space Station updating people on Earth from the crew of what they're doing, and sometimes they're just some fun videos like eating on the space station. Sometimes they talk about some experiments they're doing. This is a weekly show, so if you want to watch videos that astronauts upload from space, then check that out. Again, it's called Space to Ground, and that is a free web series that NASA provides. There's also a really cool resource. You may have heard of Google Earth or Google Street View, and Google actually has created a sort of a street view version of the International Space Station, where you can fly through the ISS in 3D. And I'm having trouble. I guess my link isn't working correctly. Hopefully I'll get that fixed, but we're gonna go ahead and move on. But again, you could fly through the ISS in 3D, just like Google Street View, and kind of look at all the different modules from the inside of the space station, which is pretty fun. So a lot of great resources if you want to learn more about the International Space Station. And of course, our resource today will be our Lego set. Hard to do without my shortcuts, but that's all right, we'll figure it out. So this is a really great scale accurate replica. There's some modules that will be slightly different, but I'll mention those as we go through. But to give you a little background about the International Space Station, there we go. Its origins actually date back decades before it was officially started in the late 90s. The first proposal was for a space station called Freedom, so American, and this was an American proposal back in the 1980s. And then the Soviet and / Russian space agencies had another proposal for the Mir 2, which would have been a sequel to the Mir space station, which was an early modular space station. 1984, the European Space Agency was invited by NASA to participate in the American station. And then in 1985, the Japanese Space Agency was added to these plans, and it sort of started to evolve into this big international idea. And then in September of 1993, the American Vice President Al Gore and Russian Prime Minister Viktor Chernomyrdin sort of announced a joint announcement that the United States and Russia would be collaborating, and thus the International Space Station was born, a collaboration with a lot of different space agencies. And so they announced a new space station plan. That wasn't the Space Station Freedom anymore. It was the International Space Station, and planning and construction began. Now, the International Space Station is one of the most expensive things ever built by people. It's estimated to have costed about $150 billion in total. Now, we're not going to have time to get into the why of the space station. A lot of people ask, why are we spending all this money to go into space? What are we doing in space that helps us here on Earth? Short answer is a lot. Scientists are doing a lot of really important research in space. There's some cancer research, for example, that can only be conducted in microgravity. So obviously that helps us here on Earth. But I'm just going to go ahead and save that for another topic, because right now I'm planning around Thanksgiving, the week of Thanksgiving. My stream that week will be all about what we can be thankful for space exploration. So why do we go to space? What things, what advancements and important inventions and technologies do we owe to space travel? Because that's a common question. Why do we spend so much money on space? Well, it's not just all about exploration. It's about things that can help us here on Earth. So again, mark your calendars, because hopefully that Monday night, the week of Thanksgiving, we will be diving into what we can be thankful for when it comes to space travel. All right, so before we start constructing the space station, let's jump back over and see who else is tuning in. Tori's watching from South Kansas City. Thanks for watching, Tori. We've got Scott saying hello. Corey says, Kirksville, Missouri here. Hey, that's my alma mater. I went to Truman State University. So say hello to Kirksville for me. and you can have a Palanza on me. That's a deep Kirksville cut. Connie says hello from Cape Cod. Eric says watching from Lennox on the big screen. Awesome. Haiti says from Grain Valley, Missouri, tuning in. Daniela is giving us a heart. Thanks for watching and loving, Daniela. And Carlos is watching from California, Missouri. Wow, cool. You can really go anywhere in the country from the comfort of Missouri, can't you? And Eric has asking a question, which is a perfect jumping off point for the bulk of our stream. And his question is, how old is the International Space Station and what is its life expectancy? We'll talk about that at the end of the stream today. But how old is it? Well, the first module, let's go back over to, there we go, my PowerPoint here. So the first module, actually a couple other things about the space station, just to give you kind of a size perspective. It's about the size of an American football field. And here's it compared to a couple other stations. Skylab and Mir were other space stations, as well as the Salyut space station. And here's the space shuttle for size perspective as well. And here are all the different modules. There are dozens of modules that have been launched since the late 90s. And the very first module was the Zarya module. And this was launched in November of 1998. And so this was the first part of the space station. Now, it was a lone module. Zarya means dawn, and it's also called the functional cargo block. Basically, it was intended to provide electrical power, storage, propulsion, and guidance to the ISS during the early stages of assembly. And right now, it's primarily used for storage. So, really, we couldn't call the space station having started after this module, because this is the first module, and it's a modular space station. And also, there were no people on the station. They launched this module and sort of left it there. And then the Unity module was the first module that connected. And so this is when the space station, I say, really started. And this was December of 98. And this was the US-built space station component. And it was a simple module that had 6 connector ports facing in all directions, 6 different directions, which we will refer to when we're talking about the space station. And these are sort of nautical terms. So there's forward and aft. So forwards, then backwards, aft. There's port and starboard. Port is left, starboard is right. I remember that because port and left have the same number of letters. Then there's zenith, which is up, and nadir, which is down, which you usually don't have to worry about on a boat. Right now, the Unity module is typically where the crew eat together. And then the third module is the Zvezda module, and this was launched in July of 2000. Its name means star, and it's a service module. Provides life support as well as living quarters for 2 crew members. It's also the functional center of the Russian orbital segment. They kind of divide the space station into 2 chunks, the American and Russian segments. This is also where crew typically assemble to deal with emergencies. The reason there is such a gap here is it was actually delayed a bit. There was some Russian government financial troubles, NASA actually constructed a backup service module in case this one was postponed. There's actually kind of a funny story about the Zvezda. This was actually weirdly a sort of a marketing thing. The Pizza Hut contracted to have their logo painted on the orbital rocket that took the Zvezda module to space, which is kind of crazy. There was this is the only case I can think of a commercial company just basically painting an ad on a spaceship. So I guess Russia was really hurting for money. They bought or sold some ad space on their spaceship, which is kind of crazy. All right, so let's go back to our camera. Now the reason I was waiting is because so those 3 segments, the Unity or the Zarya, Unity, and Zvezda, they are kind of all connected with a piece of Lego that goes through them. So I had to leave them all together. If I took it apart, it would just kind of disintegrate. But so we can see there is the Zvezda model or module on the end, the Unity module, the docking port here, and then right in the center is the Zarya, the first module of the space station. All right, so we've got these 3 modules here, and right now this is in July of 2000. There still are not people on the space station. And so let's go back over to, there we go. And now the next segment, so there are some smaller solar panels on this construction so far, but the first large-scale solar panel, the first official solar array, full-size solar array, was constructed in 3 parts over 2 different missions, and these are the trusses and solar arrays, and then there's also this PMA-3, which is the pressurized mating adapter. Now, let's see if okay, let's back over to here. So now the first large full-size solar array was attached in kind of a weird spot that was kind of not standard. And there's one other section I wanted to add. Yeah, okay. So here is the truss and the PMA, and I believe that goes like that. Double check my instructions. Yes, that should be correct. All right, so we've got the truss here, and then basically this first solar panel kind of was attached on top. You know what? We're actually gonna. Not sure I'll actually be able to properly attach. Ooh, you know, this way. All right. So this is a little bit off, but basically the large solar array, the first one of 4, so there are 4 of these big solar arrays. There are 4 of these big solar arrays, and the first one was sent up before it sort of had the main truss attachment to attach the other ones, and so it was sort of just plopped on the top, just sort of not randomly, but you can see it's just kind of plopped on top of everything else. So here we go. We've got the first solar array. So now the space station's starting to come together. There are so when we attach these solar arrays, also an important thing is that, so this mission in November of 2000 was also Expedition 1, which was the first official crewed mission to the space station. And since this mission, there has been a human presence in space consistently. So there have always been people on the space station. It's never been unoccupied since then. There have been people in space for now close to 21 years, which is pretty incredible. Or 20 years, I guess. So yeah, so actually, yeah, this month we're celebrating 20 years of human presence in space. Hey, there we go. So it kind of works out still with the timing. So this solar array, I want to talk a little bit more about it here. So the solar array consists of 2 retractable blankets of solar cells between with a mass between them that kind of connects them. Each wing contains nearly 33,000 solar cells when it's fully extended. And they're 115 feet long and 39 feet wide. And there are 8 total wings, again, 4 of these wing chunks, and then the wing by itself, there are 8 of them. And they contain gimbals, so they actually can rotate to face the sun. Hopefully they don't fall off. And so these are solar panels. This is where the primary source of electricity comes from on this space station. So, of course, on it facing the sun at all times. They can generate from 84 to 120 kilowatts of electricity. Or 120,000 watts. That's enough energy to power 40 houses. For kind of comparison, a small fridge uses about 700 watts. So they're pretty powerful solar panels. All right, so we got people on the space station now. It's the early 2000s. Nope, wrong button. There we go. Let's continue on. Okay, so now we're going to add the Destiny module. And I want to make sure I put this at the right spot. So we've added the solar panels and now the Destiny module. Let's see, where are you, Destiny? Haha. Here we go. I believe. Okay, I'm gonna have to move the solar array here. So the Destiny module is going to back here. So the Destiny module is going to hook right onto. It's actually not correct. Okay, hang on a second. Oh yes, it went like. Okay. Yes, I believe it. Let me double check. I'm gonna pull out the instructions just for a bit. Making sure, again, this is not the correct way to assemble this space station, so I'll make sure I'm putting this together correctly. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. Let's see. That. All right. Let's see here. It goes like We'll find out. We'll adjust it as it goes. No worries. Okay, so the Destiny module was the U.S. laboratory, and this was launched in February of 2001. Then, let's see. Next, okay. All right. Yeah. So let's go back over to PowerPoint. Okay, great. So there's the Destiny Laboratory, February of 2001. Then there was an external storage platform just to store stuff, basically. And then the exciting one is the Canadarms. This is a Canadian contribution to the space station, and this is a huge arm that is able to grab stuff, service the space station, and move things around. So we've attached our Canadarm here onto the side of the space station. So this was launched in April of 2001. Its official full name is the Space Station Remote Manipulator System, or SSRMS. This is the second generation. The first Canadarm was on the space shuttle. And in its first iteration, it was 58 feet when fully extended. It had 7 motorized joints, and it is capable of moving around payloads of up to 256,000 pounds. So it can grab entire spacecraft and move them around. In fact, it's often used to capture cargo ships and kind of attach them manually, basically. And it moves around the space station kind of like an inchworm. So it will kind of turn and kind of grab one spot and then move the other spot around and grab that spot and kind of move around like an inchworm move. So that is the Canadarm, added in April 2001. Right, back to here. All right, then the Quest airlock was added next, and we're gonna my Canadarm for just a second. Okay, the Quest airlock, that goes on this. Wait a second. So the Quest airlock we'll talk about first. Was July 2001. This was an airlock, and it's the primary airlock for the International Space Station, designed to be a doorway for spacewalks. And so that hooked onto the side of this Unity module. So that is the airlock right there. Then the next module, or a couple modules got added after that. Let's see. There was the Piers module, which I don't believe I have on here, but it was basically just a docking port. And then they started to construct the main truss where the solar panels were going to be housed. So right now we still have this solar panel just kind of floating around on top of the space station randomly here. But we wanted to eventually move all the solar panels into their proper spots to give this International Space Station its iconic appearance. And so over the course of a number of missions, this truss construction happened. And we are going to go back over here. And this is another part of the LEGO design that didn't really work on its, or I couldn't really take it apart modularly like it was built in the actual International Space Station. So all these parts were kind of assembled one at a time by a number of missions, and then eventually connected here. And I believe now, there we go. Now better. All right. So we still have the solar panel kind of floating right on top. We're just going to set that gracefully there on top. Okay. So at this point, we've got the makings of our space station, and we were getting ready to attach the main solar panels to the sides of the ship. But then disaster struck. So on February 1st, 2003, the Columbia shuttle disaster happened. As the Columbia space shuttle was re-entering the atmosphere, it exploded, and this was in 2003, and this caused massive delays to all NASA missions. For 2 years, we didn't send another space shuttle while NASA was figuring out and assessing the reason for the disaster, and obviously trying to prevent it in the future. So it took a little while, but eventually we did get back up to space. And so the first mission back to the space station was in 2005, and this was for an external storage platform in July 2005. And don't believe I have that separately. Again, there's some small details here on the model that may not make it in, but this was basically just sort of a storage platform for sort of your general space junk. But then after this sort of first mission back to space after that disaster, NASA was able to start working again to finish constructing the space station, and especially finish constructing those solar panels. So there were a number of missions to finish constructing the truss here. And then different parts of it were kind of constructed in different ways. So it's kind of interesting how they ended up doing it. So they left the first solar array up there, but then they attached the second one to the side where it was meant to be. And I should be able to do that on my model here. So let's go back over LEGO view. All right, so I've got this solar array here. Go ahead and attach that. Not breaking the LEGO. Purposely didn't do this. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay. So they attached some more trusses, and then they attached the first official solar array in its proper location. And then these fins down here, which you can see in the picture, these are heat radiators. So all this electricity generates a lot of excess heat. So these are radiators that basically disperse that heat back out into space so that the space station itself doesn't overheat, which would be very bad for the astronauts. So at this point, we've got sort of this weird sort of Frankenstein space station where we've got one solar array kind of randomly up top, and then the second one is in the spot it's supposed to be. And so what happened at this point is there were a number of missions that added the other trusses and other solar arrays. And at this point, from 2006 to 2007, the second solar array on the other side was added. But they actually left the third one, or technically the first one they brought up there, on top, but they retracted the solar panels here. So you can see these two lines. This is where those solar panels were, but they were retracted. So you can see how small those solar panels are able to retract to, those solar blankets, like I said earlier. But as I said, so they retracted this this first solar panel that they added out of the way, and then they attached the third solar array, or the second solar array in its intended location, just like that. And then there were a number of other missions. Let's go back here. So at this point, there was a mission that did two important things. There was the bringing up the Harmony capsule, which was also the second node. So this is another sort of six-way node that I believe I have right here. And this should go... so back. It's kind of hard to... I wish I had dual screens here. Let me talk about it first. So there's the Harmony module, which was in October of 2007. But also on this mission, they moved that first truss to its proper location in the solar array. And it was a little off-axis here. But you can see... or actually, what they did is they... so they had these... basically the second and third solar array, and then they took that first one and moved it over to the side over here. So let's go back over to our LEGO. So first there's the Harmony capsule, which again is another docking node that we were going to attach a lot of other things to. So we're going to... uh-oh, fell off the space station. Fell into my... it wasn't important. Just some life support system. All right, let's fix that. Back. So we've got the Harmony hub. That is the second node. Again, a six-way node, able to attach a lot of other things to. And then they took that solar panel that was on top, and they shifted it over, and they attached it. Let me make sure I get it on the correct side. Also, yeah. Okay, so they attached it over here. So they rotated it. Okay, now we've got sort of a lopsided space station. So we have 3 solar arrays, 6 of the solar panels, and that's providing a lot of power, but we still aren't quite done with the solar arrays here. But there were a couple other important missions. There was the Columbus Laboratory, which was a European science laboratory, added in February of 2008, right here. And the Columbus Laboratory, make sure I get that in the right spot. Right, so added Harmony. Also, so after the Harmony module was added, back over here, they moved some of the, or they added some more heat dissipation fins right here. So these are some more radiators dissipating heat. So this space station generates a lot of heat from all that electricity. So we've got some more radiator panels. It's kind of washed out in the color, but side you can kind of see them there. Okay. All right. So again, as I said, the Columbus module was added, and this is a European laboratory, and Columbus goes. So here is the back of the space station. Columbus clipped right, it attached right onto the side here, just like that. Oh, sit down. There we go. All right, so we've got Columbus. Here's sort of our top of our space station, and again, this is in 2008. And then we've got a couple other modules to add here. We had the Dextra module and Kibo. So this is kind of interesting. So these were a number of missions, March through May of 2008. The Dextra module, aka the Special Purpose Dexterous Manipulator, was another Canadian robotic arm. And this is kind of funny. It was a little bit complicated, as you can see there. It almost looks like a person in that left photograph. And in our Lego model, it's literally just a tiny little knob piece, but nonetheless, we're going to add it to our model just for the sake of completion. Make sure I put it in the right spot. All right, it's going to go right there. So this model is to scale, but you know, there's only so much detail you can add in a Lego model, of course. And then there's a Kibo. Now Kibo's pretty cool. Kibo is a Japanese research model. It's actually the largest single International Space Station module, and it consisted of a couple different pieces. Its name means hope, by the way, and again, it was produced by the Japanese Space Agency. All right, so the Kibo module had a couple different parts, and I'm gonna go back to go. So the Kibo module attached to the back of the ISS as well, opposite to our Columbus. Snap it on right there. Now Kibo had a couple of cool pieces. So there is the Kibo module. And so this had a indoor science platform, but the coolest thing about it is that it had an external science platform. This is called the Kibo Exposed Facility. It launched in July of 2009, so on a third mission to launch it. Pardon the sound, my bird is just kind of freaking out over there. So this is designed for experiments to be exposed to the vacuum of space. So there are a couple of cool experiments aboard the Kibo laboratory, external laboratory. There we can see it right there. There's a space X-ray imager, there's an electron telescope, there's a forest and topography laser imager and that they use to study ecology on the Earth. There's a thermal radiometer, there's a cosmic ray detector, and there's even a LiDAR detector to measure pollution and other atmospheric aerosols. So a lot of cool experiments being done on that sort of outdoor space station experiment place. I'm going to pause real quick and jump back into the comments just to see who else is chiming in. We've got Lisa saying hello from KCK. Pamela's watching from KC Northland, and Barry's watching from Bonner Springs. Oh, we're getting a couple questions. All right, let's see. Rachel says, is quoting, I'm assuming something I said, attached in a weird spot that is kind of not standard. And Rachel says, can we really call anything about the construction design of a space station standard this early in our species' history of spacefaring? That's a very good point, and a lot of this space station has been constructed sort of piecemeal. There was an initial plan, though, and it actually pretty much resembles what it was originally intended to look like. But, of course, the modular nature of it means there are new modules and ideas added all the time, and we'll talk about some of those a little bit later. So that's a really funny and great point, Rachel. But there definitely isn't much standard about this space station. Stacy asks, do we know which module had the air leak? So recently, we talked about it on previous streams, there was a module on the space station that was leaking air. I think they're actually still trying to diagnose that, so I'm not 100% sure which module's leaking, but the astronauts are safe. They do have sort of life pods that they can kind of go back to that are enclosed, so there's no chance of them suffocating or anything, and it's a very slow leak, but obviously we want to figure out what that is. And Eric says, how many people can work on the ISS at the same time? How do they keep producing oxygen? Ooh, that's a really great question. And I believe, actually, I don't, off the top of my head, I would search for it real quick, but I can't grab my keyboard. But I know at least there can be 6 astronauts aboard there. I'm sure there have been in the past, and potentially more. There may be a maximum capacity on the space station. As far as how they produce their oxygen, that's a really great question. A lot of the resources on the space station are renewable, so there are filtration systems that can renew, carbon dioxide that humans breathe out and turn it back into oxygen. But I'm not sure what the primary system for producing oxygen is. That's something that I'd have to look up, and I definitely don't want to speak about something I don't completely know the answer to. But that's a really great question, Eric. Thanks for asking it and for stumping me. All right, so just checking in. So we are in July 2009. Our space station's looking pretty good, getting closer to completion. I also remembered that I do have a little stand here I can use, so maybe give my arm a rest. Let's see, it goes on like this. Okay, there we go. That's better. Okay, so, all right, so we are not done constructing though. Let's go back to our timeline here. Moving on. Okay, here we go. So March 2009, we have the final missions to attach the solar arrays here. Yeah, okay, here we go. So, yeah, March 2009. So this is the final solar array added. I think I have it down here somewhere. And we're going to pop that on our model. Okay, now we've got all 4 solar arrays, 8 solar panels here on the space station. And now the space station finally has that iconic shape that so many people recognize. In fact, you can see this shape all the way from the Earth. This is a Earth telescope pointing at the moon, where a very lucky photographer, or a very good photographer, managed to capture the shadow, or the silhouette, I should say, of the International Space Station as it crossed in front of the moon. It goes around the Earth once every 90 minutes, so you can see it relatively frequently, although it does move in a very angled orbit, so it will be crossing over different parts of the Earth at different times. If you're curious about whether you can see the International Space Station from Earth, you can, for sure. It's sometimes the brightest point of light in the sky when it passes over. It moves very quickly, though, but there are some apps you can download or websites you can go to that'll actually give you a heads up when the ISS is going to be overhead. So it's because it goes over every 90 minutes, it is a pretty easy thing to spot if you really want to go out looking for the ISS. All right, how are we doing on time? Okay, all right, not too terrible. Let's go back. Go to our PowerPoint here. So we're going to move right along to July 2009. Okay, so that is the Kibo Exposed Facility. I forgot I had a separate slide for that. So there you can see that outdoor science lab, and there is a robotic arm that you can manipulate the outdoor science experiments. And it is a Japanese module, but it is shared with all the international participants of the space station. Next up, we have the Poisk, which was in November 2009. Its name means search. And this was the first major Russian attachment to the ISS since 2001, actually. They hadn't really done anything. It was designed as a new docking module for one of the other modules. And I don't believe... yeah, that is not represented here in our LEGO model, so we'll move right along okay, so this is ELC-1 and ELC-2, which stands for Express Logistics Carrier, which stands for Expedite the Processing of Experiments to the Space Station. So this is an acronym within an acronym. NASA loves their acronyms so much, they put one inside of another one. But these are basically space pallets used to hold experimental stuff. These are actually represented on our model here. And let me make sure I get them in the right spot, because, it's very important to get all this correct. Okay, so like I'm around here, and yep. Okay, so these are little, like I said, little space pallets represented by these little tiny Lego doohickeys, and they basically just attach sort of to the sides of the trusses here. And like I said, they are just like big space pallets used to hold experiments and cargo and all sorts of fun space junk. And okay, the next module, this one's fun. The next one is two modules. There's the Tranquility module and the Cupola module. So Tranquility here, it was the third utility hub. Designed to connect to other modules. That also contains some more life support systems, as well as an exercise equipment and a toilet. And no, the first toilet was not launched in 2010, 10 years after human occupation. There were other toilets on the space station, but there was another toilet launched on board the Tranquility module. Then there was the Cupola, which means dome in Italian. And this is a really awesome module. This has, I keep speaking the past tense. The space station is still up there, and there's still people there. But the cupola has 7 windows used to conduct experiments, assist with docking, and let's be honest, just to take sweet space pictures. So a lot of astronauts talk about loving just hanging out in the cupola because it's one of the biggest window areas on the space station. And you can just kind of look down on the Earth, and it's pointing down towards the Earth. So we'll go back to our model here, and we're going to add the Tranquility module. Oop. So we're going to add it to... okay, we're going to cheat again, looking at the... Okay, we're doing this live, folks. Get this in post. Not. What? All right, I'm gonna cheat and consult my little guide here. Let's see. Oh, okay, I'm looking at the wrong. That's why. Okay. So Tranquility. Here. Consulting our instructions. How's everybody doing today? You guys doing well? Enjoying this winter weather? Chilly outside. As I vamp here and hide my embarrassment for forgetting where this module went. Where are you? Okay. Let's see. Let's go on back. Oh, I see what I did. Sideways? Oh boy. Right. That goes. Okay. I see. Alright. So, that. So. Right here. The module. Oh. Alright. I missed a step. I'm confused. I missed a step. So Tranquility module here is right there. Attach to side. Alright. And now the cupola. Little dome piece attaches to the bottom, so the cupola faces downwards towards the Earth, and again allows astronauts to take those sweet pics. All right, those Tranquility attached to node 3. Okay, all right, now we're in business. That piece was just kind of hiding on the inside. All right, we're doing great, folks. We've got our ISS constructed. You know, listen, we're building an entire space station on stream. How many people can say they're trying to do that? All right, so moving on. Thanks for being patient, folks. Or maybe no one's watching anymore. But that's all right. We'll just soldier on. Next we've got the Rasvet module, which means sunrise. is a mini research module that is not represented on our LEGO model. This was launched in 2010. And then we have the Leonardo module, which is a permanent multi-purpose module. Also not in our LEGO model. It actually attaches right where the stand attaches here. This is in February of 2011. And then we have one of the last missions, which escaped my PowerPoint for some reason. That's okay. So on May of 2011 was the second to last space shuttle flight, and this was the last space shuttle mission to the International Space Station, and the last really major modules or mission to add modules to the station. It carried a couple different things. It carried, let's see, the AMS-02, which stands for Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, which goes right here on top. And this is a really awesome module that is actually operated by CERN, who are the particle physicists who have that particle accelerator. And this module here is actually designed to detect antimatter in cosmic rays. So they're detecting antimatter aboard the space station because, you know, space station wasn't cool enough already. We also added the orbital boom sensor system, which was an extension to the Canada arm, actually making it twice as long, doubling its length to over 100 feet. And we're just going to permanently attach the Canada arm to the side of the station there in the front, just kind of sticking up artistically there. And also we sent up the ELC-3. Again, ELC is the Express Logistics Carrier, sort of a space pallet. And this one, ELC-3, is down here. And then I forgot to mention ELC-4 was sent up with the Leonardo capsule. That goes right on top. So we're just kind of attaching cargo bays sort of all around, just kind of hooking it on wherever. If you've ever been like backpacking, these are sort of like, you know, whenever you sort of clip something to the side of your backpack. This is just all these extra cargo areas connected. Then there's also, let's see, other module escaped my notes for some reason. Much about it. So let's see, yeah. Right. It's just another storage module. Okay, so as I said, in 2011, this was the final major mission to the space station. So after we retired the space shuttle program in 2011, we did not have a rocket capable of carrying large modules. Even the Russians didn't have a rocket capable of carrying large modules. So this is was the end of the major additions to the space station until SpaceX came around, and the Falcon 9 was able to carry some large-scale modules back up. So back over here, the first official mission to add something large-scale to the space station wasn't for another 5 years, until April of 2016, when an experimental module called the Beam was added to the space station. And this was a cool module, and it's going to be added to the back of our Node 3 here. But basically, this was an experimental inflatable module that was just designed as sort of a proof of concept, an idea of you know, what if we could send something to space in a small scale, so it was in a small package, but we could inflate it to make it bigger so you could fit more stuff in it. So you wouldn't have to send a big capsule up to space. And this is a pretty tiny module, and they do store some stuff in it, but it's not really intended to be used officially. It was more of a proof of concept. And the idea is you could send an even larger scale, maybe even a space habitat up to space, kind of like a camper that, you know, you kind of compress when you're driving around, but when you park, you sort of expand the different sections out to make it bigger on the inside. So there's your Doctor Who reference for today. There were a couple other small scale additions since then, all carried by SpaceX. And these were the IDA missions, or International Docking Adapters. IDA 2 and 3 were carried to the space station in 2016 and 2019, respectively. IDA 1, unfortunately, was lost during a launch failure in 2015. But these are international docking adapters. So up to this point, there were different docking ports aboard the space station that were not compatible with a lot of other, or with certain international spacecraft. And so the idea is to make a sort of a universal docking adapter, kind of like a USB port, so to speak, so that every space agency around the world could sort of share their plans, share their dimensions for this docking adapter, so it was all unified. And this docking adapter is currently being used by the SpaceX missions. And here is the Crew Dragon capsule. This is a computer render. But those were sort of the final official missions to the space station, official missions to add things to the space station. And today we have the space station as it is, like this. We've got the 8 solar panel arrays, our big Canada arm up here, all the modules, the Russian space segment over here in the back, and the American space segment towards the center, then the Japanese experimental module. And this model is cool. It has room for a lot of other capsules. So how do we get to the space station? Well, for a while after the space shuttle program ended, we were hitching rides aboard the Soyuz capsule, and there are a number of little Soyuz capsules that we can add to our model. And this is accurate as well because at any given point there are at least 2 Soyuz capsules aboard the space station, and these are basically the lifeboats on the space station. So if anything were to happen aboard the space station and people had to sort of abandon ship, so to speak, you always want to have sort of a backup spaceship on hand to hop into and fly back down to Earth. There are a number of other modules. So there are different cargo spacecraft like the Cygnus spacecraft that we send to bring stuff up to space. And to be honest, I don't remember exactly where this one goes on the model. But also this model does feature a lovely space shuttle, although that unfortunately is the retired mode of transportation. This is roughly to scale though, I believe. So you can see how big that space station is compared to the space shuttle. And then there is also a Crew Dragon capsule, and I believe this is the Boeing Starliner, which is a spacecraft currently in development. Anyway, so there are a lot of different spacecraft that are able to take people and cargo up to the space station. And what about the future, though, as Eric asked at the beginning? What about the future of the space station? So this is how it is today. This is 2020. The space station has been in space for about 20 years, and it's been doing really well. And obviously there have been some minor issues, but overall it's allowed humans to stay in space and live in space and work in space and do science in space for 2 decades. Now, officially, the current end of service, you could say, of the space station is scheduled for 2024, so there are officially 4 more years. However, there are a number of NASA and government proposals to extend this, and this has been extended in the past. I believe 2020 was supposed to be the end of this space station. They extended that to 2024, and there's another proposal to extend it another 4 years to 2028. There have been a number of canceled modules I did want to touch on briefly. There was the crew return vehicles. So as I mentioned, the Soyuz capsules are aboard the space station as sort of lifeboats, but there was actually sort of a successor to the space shuttle, almost like a little miniature cute space shuttle that was actually conceived back in 1966 by Wernher von Braun as sort of a space lifeboat for imagined space station. This is before space stations. And then Bill Clinton actually included this in his direction to NASA in 1993 when the partnership was announced with Russia. And they actually built a working test model. This is the X-38 spacecraft that was built in 1998 by NASA, but unfortunately the program was canceled in 2002 due to budgetary pressure. There was also a habitation module planned, but this was scrapped after the Columbia disaster, and certain parts of this module were sort of piecemeal taken away and put into other modules. This was supposed to be a crew quarters where everybody on the space station would have stayed, but now the crew quarters are just sort of spread throughout the space station. And then there was kind of a really cool concept that actually was starting to be constructed by the Japanese Space Agency. This was a centrifuge accommodations module that would have created an artificial gravity or a perceived gravitational pull using centrifugal force or centripetal force. I'm not going to get into an argument with any physicists about the correct term there, but basically this would spin around and cause a perception of artificial gravity aboard the space station. You can actually visit this module somewhere in Japan. They have it on display outside somewhere, but it never got off the ground. It was also canceled in 2005 after the Columbia disaster. But there could have been artificial gravity aboard the space station. It's kind of crazy. Now, in the future, there is a number of plans. There are some other modules that we hope to send up to the space station. And there's a private company called Axiom Space that's actually planning on commercial infrastructure on the space station. They're working on their own commercially operated modules that would be sent up there in the next few years. Their commercial crew would be aboard there. And there's even potential talks of them taking over operation of the space station after sort of the contract with the government expires. And they are planning on potentially even detaching some of their own modules and making their own space station with those modules. So Axiom Space, you're welcome to check them out if you want to learn more. It is a private company, but you know, a lot of people are looking towards private industry to be sort of the next step with space travel. That's what SpaceX is doing, having a private company going to space, and NASA is now contracting with them. They're basically paying a company to take our astronauts to space to do science. So there is a bright future ahead for the space station. It'll at least be here for 4 more years and likely for 8 more years. And even after that, the space station will probably still be up there as long as there is business to be had in space. That private company will find a way to make money off of it. And hopefully there will be future plans for other space stations. No major space stations are in development right now by the government. But of course, NASA and other space agencies are thinking right now about colonies on other solar system bodies like the Moon or Mars, and that's where a lot of our developmental efforts are being pushed towards this today. So that is the space station. Again, thanks for bearing with me, folks, for some of the challenges of doing this live on the air. I'm going to position this very carefully to get a nice thumbnail, because, you know, I need a thumbnail for our YouTube upload. And as a reminder, you can find previous recordings of all of our live streams on our YouTube channel. Just search for Arvin Gottlieb Planetarium on YouTube. And you can find all of our recordings where we've done deep dives into so many topics. This is our 44th live stream, I believe. So if you want to learn more about space, we've done live stream topics covering all sorts of exciting things like space telescopes, TV astronomy, movie astronomy, fictional universe astronomy. We've done the science and space, or the space science and astronomy of Harry Potter, and we've taken deep dives into many solar system bodies, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn so far. And we may have a plan to do the outer planets later. Jumping into the comments, some last comments and shout outs. Tori says, thank you. We enjoy watching the ISS flyover and love learning more about it. Well, thanks for watching, Tori. Hopefully you learned a little bit, and hopefully you enjoyed this live stream where we put together our LEGO International Space Station and learned all about our human presence in space. Thanks for watching again, folks. We'll be back on Monday night next week for our Halloween live stream. We're going to do a festive live stream. That I don't want to spoil too much, but we are basically going to be taking a look at some mysteries from space. So we are going to be looking at some unusual occurrences in space that maybe science has not quite figured out yet, but we will dive a little bit about what science is thinking so far about some of these space mysteries. So tune in next week. You don't want to miss that live stream. It should be a lot of fun. We're gonna have fun with our Halloween live stream. But I have been Patrick Hess, your planetarium specialist. Thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting us in this way. And remember, you can support us if you feel comfortable by coming to the planetarium and seeing one of our star tours or other shows live. We are open to the public at Union Station, so I'd encourage you to come check out Science City as well as the planetarium. But for now, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, folks. One last comment from one of our longtime watchers, Tammy. Thanks again for watching, Tammy. You are one of our top fans. Tammy says thank you. Loved it as usual. And thanks for watching, Tammy. And thank you to everyone else who tuned in today. We will see you next time. Have a great rest of your week, folks.